If you've read the Bible, then I'm pretty sure that you've come across some of these stories. And I'm pretty sure that you also have a few favorite Bible stories that you just keep going back to. And today we're going to be going through my favorite Bible stories. Hi, everyone. My name is Kahania, and welcome to Words of Life with Kay, where we use the word of the Lord to transform our daily lives. Let's go into some of my favorite Bible stories. Let's start with the story of David and Goliath, found in 1 Samuel 1, verse 17. David's courage is something that always inspires me. Just picture this: a young shepherd boy overlooked by everyone, standing before a warrior that no one dared to face. Yet, David didn't focus on the size of the giant, he's focused on the greatness of his God. When I think of David saying, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord," it reminds me that no matter how big my problems feel, God is always bigger. This story really hits home for me whenever I feel overwhelmed. It's a reminder that I don't have to rely on my own strength. God is always with me, ready to help me face the most impossible things. Next on my list is Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel's story in Daniel 6 is one of those stories that just gives me the chills every single time. Just imagine knowing that you could face death for staying faithful to God. And yet, Daniel didn't hesitate. He kept praying, trusting God, and standing firm in his faith. When I read Daniel's words about how God shut the mouth of the lions, it's a beautiful reminder of how faithful God is to those who trust him. It makes me think about how I can stay consistent in my faith even when it's not easy. And this story is so encouraging because it shows how when we stand firm in our faith, that God doesn't just see us. He actively protects and honors us. Number 3 on my list is Jonah and the whale. Now, Jonah's story in the book of Jonah is one I can honestly relate to. And I've had moments where I hesitated God's plan, thinking I knew better or simply just because I was afraid. And Jonah's story reminds me that running from God doesn't change his plan for my life, it just delays it. And when Jonah finally called out to God, even from the belly of the fish, God was ready to respond. That's such a comforting thought that no matter how far we stray, God's mercy is always there to welcome us back. For me, Jonah's story is a beautiful example of God's patience, and it encourages me to trust his plan the first time around, knowing that he has my best interests at heart. Number 4 on my list is Adam and Eve, and this one is a classic. The story of Adam and Eve, found in Genesis 2 to 3, is one of those stories that makes me reflect so deeply. And it's bittersweet because it shows both the beauty of God's creation and the consequences of disobedience. And I often think about how Adam and Eve had this perfect relationship with God, walking with Him in the garden, and yet their choice to disobey reminds me of how easily we can let doubt or temptation pull us away from God. To me, this story is just a reminder of God's incredible grace. Even when humanity fell, God immediately had a plan to restore us through his son, Jesus Christ. And it's a story of hope, showing that God's love never gives up on us. Number 5 on my list is the story of Moses. Now, Moses' story in Exodus is so powerful because it's such a real reflection of how many of us feel when God calls us to do something big. And Moses didn't feel ready at all. He doubted himself and even tried to talk God out of it. But God didn't call Moses because he was perfect. He called him because he was going to work through him. When I read about how God said, I will be with you, it reminds me that God equips us for everything that he calls us to do. And I've had moments where I felt unqualified, but this story always brings me back to trusting God's strength and not my own. And what I love the most about Moses' story is how it shows God's patience and provision. It reminds me that even when I feel unsure, when I feel so unsure about myself, that God's plans are greater than my fears. So these are just a few of my favorite Bible stories, and each one of them have shaped my understanding of God's love, power, and purpose for my life. And I encourage you to dive deeper into these stories and see how God is speaking to you through them. And if you haven't already watched our video on why I choose to trust Jesus, I encourage you to check it out for more insights on how we can build our trust in God through His Word. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Join our family. It would be such a blessing to have you. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss when we post another video. See you in the next one. Bye.